Alright folks, welcome back to the third video of the seventh chapter, Security and Fraud in the Online Environment, particularly e-commerce. If you have an e-commerce business, you need to know of all the terminologies that will affect the way you have security and you enforce security and maintain security over a long extended period of time. Okay then, so we continue the threats, attacks and attackers. The unintentional threats, intentional attacks and crimes, the criminals and methods. Okay, so criminals usually what they do is they do hacking. A hacker is someone who gains unauthorized access to a computer system. I mean, you must have seen this in movies, and you must have seen this in must have happened somewhere where you heard about it. What happens is a talented person with the knowledge of programming, they hack into a foreign system. They get access to the information and the passwords and everything, and able to see everything right from their comfort of their own homes. So, and it's something that has a lot of controversy, and many people who were caught as cyber criminals. We know a lot of personalities, they gave up the crime and they joined the cyber police to catch hackers, to catch criminals, and to aid in the enforcing of security. Cracker is a malicious hacker such as Maxwell in the opening case, okay, who may represent a serious problem for a corporation. I'm going to discuss this case shortly, just hang in there. Alright, I have this file here, and it's the case that I was referring to, Robert Maxwell lessons learned. Okay, and I found this resource over the internet, and I'm showing you the credits here so that you know that it has been borrowed from the internet for teaching purposes. Lessons learned, Brian D. Robotham looks at the valuable lessons that can be taken from Maxwell's international fraud. Okay, this is Robert Maxwell will be remembered as the architect of the greatest fraud in British history. It all happened right under the noses of the regulators, and with the support of the well-paid but seemingly unwitting bankers, lawyers and accountants from top firms in London. Maxwell built a vast publishing empire in the 1980s before it collapsed under a mountain of debt and fraud, which was only discovered following his mysterious death by drowning off the Canary Islands in November 1991. Okay, so this guy was responsible for a lot of fraud that happened in London, okay, a long time ago from now. What happened I'm not going to read the entire document, but I'm just highlighting and I'm just letting you know that how hackers and malicious fraud has been caught in the history and is being utilized for the benefit of the current security problems. In the late 1980s, Maxwell withdrew vast sums from his flagship enterprise, Maxwell Communication Corporation, a listed company, to fund his personal buying spree of companies held by Headington Limited. He also used his MCC shares as collateral for personal loans to further expand his private acquisitions. Okay, so this was the main fraud going on here. I'm not going to go into details. Okay, so what happened is, okay, yes, Maxwell was able to embezzle over GBP 400 million from various pension funds, in part because the Investment Management Regulatory Organization approved Bishopgate Investment Trust as a trust management company. BIT was controlled by Maxwell's sons, Kevin and Ian. In another bold move, Maxwell Group Newspapers was taken public in April 1991, 6 months prior to his death. He controlled MGN's board and had large unsecured personal loans before and after floating 49% of the company. Immediately after Maxwell's death, numerous loans went into default, forcing his private and public enterprises into bankruptcy. In the end, the embezzled funds were used to acquire investments, some good but many bad, and to set up an illegal share support scheme. As the bankruptcies go, the recovery efforts were successful, The pension funds were made whole as a result of litigation settlements, I'm sorry, and by the British government, that is the taxpayers, which chipped in approximately GBP 100 million. The big banks recovered most of the loans. The professional advisors or bankers hired by Maxwell, thanks to litigation, didn't fare too well. The professional firms engaged in the aftermath fared rather better. Okay, so here is what the following are the patterns of fraud and lessons we learned as we unraveled Maxwell's web during our 14-year investigation. The comments in italics reflect our own recommendations. Know your customer. Checklists don't prevent Maxwell type frauds. The more important rule is to know your structure. Okay, so this is not a security or forensics course. I'm not going to get into details, but I'm just trying to tell you that cases of fraud have been studied over the passage of time, and people try to deduce as much as they can, and they try to. It's a science called heuristics. Heuristics. Heuristics, and it is a philosophy that we deals with lessons learned. So you establish a pattern in the erroneous situation, and then you try to come up with some kind of a solution, or some kind of a do's and don'ts, pros and cons, or some kind of lessons learned structure, and then you try to implement that in your company. So this is how security and fraud has been able to improve itself with the aid of fraud episodes by people like Maxwell. Whenever complex structures are employed, fiduciaries must maintain detailed diagrams with ownership and legal relationship clearly spelled out. Okay, so here are many lessons learned. Let me just read these points. Where trustees are in position of substantial responsibility, they need to retain a healthy skepticism towards professionals and their inherent conflicts of interest, diversify rather than consolidate financial advisors on large accounts, establish good governance, take appropriate action whenever one's instinct starts sending signals. Did you see that? Okay, references. This is from the quotations references to the Department of Trade and Industry are taken from investigations under sections 432 and 442 of the Companies Act 1985. On the report on Mirror Group newspapers prepared by inspectors appointed by the Secretary of State for Trade and Industry, and this was published in September 2007, this particular document that I'm reading from. Okay, and by the Robotham Company LLP. It's limited liability of I think it's a legal company, sorry, not limited liability, legal company. So what the moral of the story is? What's the moral of the story? Simple. You need to make sure that malicious hackers like Maxwell do not corrupt your website. Simple as that. All right, moving on from the case study, basic e-commerce security issues and landscape, the targets of the attacks in vulnerable areas. So Maxwell was able to find vulnerable areas. The vulnerabilities in business IT and electronic commerce systems, okay, security scenarios and requirements in e-commerce, the content of information security. So cases like Maxwell, and there are many others, believe me, you can Google and check out information security, hackers and history or something like that. You will find a lot of people who have committed a lot of cyber crimes, and they eventually are caught, or they give up themselves, and they surrender, and then they confess, and then they help out the police to create a vulnerability checklist in which they try to tell that these are the loopholes in the system that hackers are easily able to get inside. Interesting, isn't it? So electronic commerce security requirements: authentication, authorization, auditing, availability, non-repudiation. Okay, authentication is the process to verify or assure the real identity of an individual. Okay, computer program, or electronic commerce website. The real identity of an individual, you need to find that out. Authorization is the process of determining what the authenticated entity is allowed to access and what operations it is allowed to perform. Authorization. So every website has levels of authentication and authorization. Auditing is the checking of every single login, keystroke logging, every single thing, every single thing. Auditing yields digital footprints. You can check this term out on the Google site or Google or wherever your search engine is. The term was digital footprint. Okay, and digital footprint is nothing but where it's just like, if you've been to the beach and you keep walking and someone's trying to follow you, they know, okay, the slippers or the flip-flops you're wearing has a certain pattern, so they know, they recognize it, and they follow you all the way, to the other side of the shore. It's because of your footprints, right? So same analogy is used in the online environment. The digital footprint is the capability of auditing programs to follow you wherever you've been, whatever page you've seen, whatever section of the page you've seen, whatever you've seen. Availability, again, in terms of security, availability means whether, a page is accessible or available to a particular user. Non-repudiation is the assurance that online customers or trading partners cannot falsely deny or repudiate their purchase or transaction. Okay, for example, let me show you one very good example here. Let's go back to the online. Yes, check this out. Okay, there's this stealcoupon.com. It's a very famous, local famous coupon granting business. And what they do is, for example, if I want to buy something from here, okay, for example, I want to dine out at this restaurant, okay, whatever restaurant it is, I want to view the deal and I want to add this to the cart, and what happens is I just purchase the coupon, okay, and all I need to do is just show up at this hotel and try to redeem it. Non-repudiation means that when I go to this restaurant, they cannot say no to me. They cannot say, no, sorry, we cannot accept your coupon. If they do that, that means I have been a subject of online fraud by the coupon company. Okay, please rewind as in go back and review whatever I've just said. Non-repudiation is that you cannot deny that I did buy something online and I have proof to show, proof of purchase, and you are not accepting my purchase. Okay, when you have mentioned here, your site is mentioned, your site location is mentioned, everything is mentioned here, telephone number is mentioned, and when I go to you, you say, sorry, we can't take this coupon, we're not going to honor it. Okay, so that's called non-repudiation. Okay, basic e-commerce security issues and landscape, the defender strategy and methods. Electronic commerce security strategy is a strategy that views electronic commerce security as a process of preventing and detecting unauthorized use of organizations' brand, identity, website, email information, or other assets, and attempts to defraud the organization, its customers and employees. Okay, let me give you a good example here. Let's go back to the internet and let's type the word Success Lab. Okay, Success Lab is a very famous chain of what we call Success Lab tutoring. Okay, later, Success Lab tutoring. It's a very famous chain of this is tutoring. Yes, student success. Where is it? I'm actually trying to find out. Okay, I tried out Success Lab. I think the business has moved. So let's do this sylvanlearning.com. Okay, the name of the business is Sylvan Learning. What if I decided to open a tutoring center and I call it sylvan.com? Okay, And this business here is very, very, very famous. Very famous. It's a physical business, and Sylvan Learning Centers are located throughout the United States, and they have one very famous one in Virginia as well. So what we do is, we what if I try to open up a tutoring center and I label it sylvan.com. The name of this business that I'm talking about is sylvanlearning.com. Now I have seriously breached trademark and copyright issues. Okay, I have stepped across those. I'm on sensitive areas now. I'm stepping on sensitive areas now. People at Sylvan Learning would definitely come in contact with me, and they would say that you are using our brand name and recognition to attract customers to you, because we are getting calls from our customers that is Sylvan.com and sylvanlearning.com the same? Are you guys the same? We don't know you. Who are you? You use the same word as same business name as us, and we have copyrighted our name. You cannot use Sylvan anywhere else. Sylvan belongs to us. So they can sue me. They can take me to court and they can sue me. So what do you do to avoid that? These are the things that you need to be careful of when you do an electronic commerce security strategy. You protect when you have a business name. For example, right now I have Scrumptious Indulgence. I have to do a thorough research before I find out anything else going on the internet. You can, if you have a business yourself, just Google the term of Google your chosen or your selected term and try to find out if there's any business anywhere in the world like yours. Try to obtain copyright, and by registering your business and receiving your license, you automatically protect your business name. Okay, so deterring measures is actions that will make criminals abandon their idea of attacking a specific system. Example, the possibility of losing a job for insiders. So these deterrent measures are mentioned in the your HR, whatever your company you opening up, in the HR department should be able to define all of these policies and procedures, and any kind of rules and regulations, and any kind of punishments associated with any kind of activities that are not allowed in your system, in your company, and you will be asked to sign them as an employee. So you will be subject to deterring measures, and you will be thinking twice before you perform any kind of cyber criminal activity. All right, then let's stop this video here. Okay, and let's meet up in the next video. Take care. Bye.